How's it going, everybody? We got a Apocalypse analysis event for you today, as you can see in the title. We've got IRK's father, repping Passion Daddies, and DM's Keen, repping Keen. What team are you on, my bad? Sam Yang? Yeah, Sam Yang.
Yeah, Sam Yang.
Okay. So how this is going to work is we are going to go through a few notable games from their Apocalypse match on Monday, and going to hear both players' thoughts. We're going to be taking questions in chat, so make sure you come with questions. And Strom, please more.
All right. Hey guys, if this is your first time tuning into an Apocalypse event, this is a CPL show match series. Okay, who am I getting feedback from? Because I can't talk while I can hear my.
I've got headphones on.
I don't think it's me.
Okay. Okay. So if this is your first time tuning in, this is a show match series put on by CPL. It is inspired by the Korean End of the World series in honor of the Apocalypse. And normally we run through these and we live cast and observe these best of nines. But today we actually have a special edition series. So we had our winner versus winner, assistant coach versus assistant coach match on Monday. And today we have DM Keen and IRK's father here to actually go through some of their games and let you know what's going on, how the maps are working, how the matchup is going, and how they were feeling as they were going into the game. So this is a great chance for everyone to learn some ZBT, and I'm really excited to hear what they have to say about these games.
I am too. And as always, this is a CPL learning league for players that are new to intermediate. You get a good chance to get coached by very strong players in the foreign scene. A lot of really good opportunities to improve. If this is news to you, I'll go ahead and link the Discord in chat. I'm assuming it's probably not news to you since you're here, but I'm going to go ahead and link in chat anyways. CPL Life.
Right, and just to add to that, if you do enjoy the cast and if you enjoy the analysis series today, make sure to check out our Team Liquid thread, which is updated for us by Art of Turtle. It has links to all the VODs from all 8 of these series that we've completed. And the VODs are also on these Twitch. So if you haven't seen these games before, you should definitely go back after the analysis event and watch them because they're super good games, and there's lots of good games in the other series that we've done as well. Also, check out the Google Calendar. I keep it updated. It's for all CPL official events. And I'll go ahead and link that in chat after I'm done the announcements. But you can find anything that's an official stream that's coming up that's scheduled on that calendar so that you can make sure to be here to tune in for it. This week we have Match of the Week on Thursday at 6 p.m. EDT. And that will be casted by Stat Zero and the Blime. So that is just a regular like CPL league cast. But we have it scheduled once a week. So to make sure that there's like a specifically scheduled CPL cast. And the next Apocalypse match, so the next Best of Nine is actually on Friday at, I think it's 2 p.m. EDT. And that is going to be another ZBT between IRK's Olin and Relentless. So IRK Olin is a Tier 0 player on Operation Indecision, and Relentless is a coach on Sam Yang Fire. So that is going to be a great match. Really excited for that. You can watch that with your new knowledge that you're going to gain from listening to this analysis series today.
And as always, we want to give a huge shout out to the Bombastic Star League BSL. They're going to go ahead and be casting this Saturday and Sunday as well, I believe. They're in the round of 16. We've got some great games. And of course, Chobo League is getting started as well. If you laddered for it, but you haven't confirmed yet, go ahead and go into the Discord and talk to one of the admins.
All right, so just a restatement of what we said before. The way this is going to work is we picked 4 of the games from Monday, and Father and Keen are going to take you through the game, let you know like kind of what they think about how it played out, and make sure if you have questions, post them in the Twitch chat, because before we move on to the next replay, Lisa and I will make sure to moderate that and ask her questions for you on stream so that we can get them all answered. So that being said, I think we can go ahead and jump in. No, I thought it was from Lee's mic. Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, so which one of us should go first? We're starting with map analysis, correct? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear
That
you.
makes a lot of sense. Analyze the map. What features stand out to you in this matchup?
Yeah, for sure.
What things you want to take advantage of?
In case you guys don't know, I'm Father, the Terran player here. So with Neo Sylphid for Terran, you can wall off all 3 positions, making link tight walls for your main. So I like to go mech on this map a lot just because of that reason. Mech is a little bit weaker to some early game shenanigans, and also being able to deny scouting is very powerful because it keeps Zerg on their toes. They don't know whether you're going mech or bio for a while. So that's my initial thought process here. Going into like the mid and late game with mech, it's a little bit harder to take your 3rd expansion, and then once you get your 3rd, you can get your 4th pretty easily. And then after that, it becomes harder again to take your expansions. So there's like a couple points in the matchup where I feel really weak. Taking my 3rd base is definitely one of them. So that was a big concern of mine coming into the game. Yeah, those are big notable things for me on Neo Sylphid.
Yeah, from the Zerg perspective, Sylphid is just like a big comfort pick for me. In general, it's like, I mean, a lot of people consider it kind of like the new generation of like Fighting Spirit, Circuit Breaker. It's the new like community favorite map almost. It is a little different from those because it's 3 players, so like late game gets a little strange, but honestly, I never really go 3-hatch Muta on this. I assume it would play out fairly standard, but I really think 2-hatch Muta plays are strong on Sylphid. Against Marine Medic, I think sometimes it's pretty hard for Terrans to really get like good turret spread. And there's just a lot of like nice high ground ridges for mutas to harass units as they're going through the choke points and so on. But I was also feeling, pretty strongly that Father might go mech on Sylphid as well, which is just a really strong build in general right now. And usually I feel pretty strongly against mech in general, but the Flash Goliath builds are quite difficult to beat. But even on Sylphid, like Father was saying, it is a struggle to get to that like late game scenario, which is when they really, really get hard to beat, when Terrans can get more than 2 gases up and start pumping out vessels. So I was feeling pretty comfortable when I saw that he was going to Goliath. Here I opted to go for the 2.5 hatch variation, where you start a regular 2-hatch Muta build, but you delay your 2nd gas a little bit to get a faster 3rd hatchery for SimCity and just better production. And yeah, that was my thought process regarding the map and the initial build.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, which is 2-hatch play is really strong on this map, and if you're going bio, I feel really not confident against 2-hatch play with bio. The turret spread is hard, like you pointed out, and I just find it really hard to leave my base. There's just so much open airspace. And so also your building layout is really important. Like you have to be able to tuck your important tech buildings behind turret rings, make sure it's not open to air, because all the main bases have a ton of walls and open air area. So that was another reason I opted for mech on this map, is you just get a couple Goliaths out and Muta harass isn't a huge worry of yours anymore. Although, as we get into the mid game, we find out that may not be as true. But yeah, starting out, things looked really normal. I didn't actually catch that it was 2.5 hatch until I poked in with my vulture a little bit later, I think. So I just thought it was regular 2 hatch for now. There's not a whole lot of difference between the builds that you have to worry about into the higher level.
The way I understood it though was 2.5 hatch, the mutas come like slightly later, right?
Yeah.
So you could actually go for a 3 factory Goliath build rather than a 2 factory. Did you end up just doing the 2 factory?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that is an important distinction to make, is that you can either go 2 factory and then throw down an engineering bay and delay your 3rd factory slightly, or you can just go 3 factories right away. So I think this game I went 2 and then I built my engineering bay just to be safer, and then I got my 3rd after that.
But it's not a huge distinction. Like the Terran's push will come at the same time regardless of whether or not it's a 2 factory or 3 factory. I think that might have actually saved my life though, because one thing I remember specifically during the game is that I accidentally researched Overlord speed before the 8-minute and 30-second Goliath +1 push came. So you having that slightly lower number of Goliaths in your push might have saved my life.
Because it was extra gas, yeah.
Yeah, because I really think that extra gas is super important for that first push. That kind of threw me off my game quite a bit.
Yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, you saw that I was being really persistent with keeping my vultures in front of this natural. In case Zerg goes for any sort of Hydra or Ling bust, you really want to see that coming before it happens. So yeah, if he had pushed out with like 2 or 3 Hydras, I would just run away with my vultures, then come back in a couple seconds and see if that was just 2 or 3, or if it was going to be a big flood, if I had to build a bunker or not. But it was just mutas, so I feel comfortable at this point.
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
Okay, yeah, it's so good for the Terran to do too, because it stops the Zerg from just immediately sending out their drone to take their 3rd even earlier than they otherwise would.
Yeah, you saw that as soon as he got map control with the mutas, he sent out that drone to take his 3rd. So if I had done a better job with like maybe splitting up my vultures when this came, I could have had a little bit more map presence, or at least delayed the mutas more. But yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the most annoying things that Terrans seem, and even more tilting for me is when they get mine research. They just like lay mines at the 3rd location and like along there. So it delays it even more. You have to spread your overlords properly and then go clear them with the mutas before you can finally go pressure. Because you do want to put some pressure on the Terran as much as you can. Like any SCP kills you can get are great. You want to get an idea of what they're doing. Like key things to keep in mind while you're performing this type of style against Goliaths is like how many factories they're producing, and you really want to keep an eye on when they finally switch to getting a starport and start building vessels. That's like the key thing to watch out for when you want to, because you don't want to stay on mutas the entire. Eventually, you want to switch to Hydra muta. I mean that's one style to do it. I generally tend to play the Hydra muta style.
Yeah. So I got +1 armor to begin with, so we're going to do our first Goliath move out right when that hits. That's just a big power spike. Goliaths trade so much better against mutas with +1 armor. But the important things to keep in mind with this first push is all you're really trying to do is poke in, make sure that he's not under defended at any places, make sure he's not just droning recklessly. And so you really don't want to be trading your army here unless you're trading extremely efficiently. And so you see I come up and I check this 3rd base, and the whole time I have been fighting like half his muta army basically. I think I just caught a glimpse of it right there, so I think I was underestimating how many mutas he actually had. And when I see that he only has 1 sunk, I decide to try and move up and take a trade. I didn't think I was actually going to kill the 3rd base here, but I wanted to just force a fight with the mutalist. So yeah, when I saw that army, I should have really known, like, okay, I'll trade fine, but it's not going to be efficiently, so it'd be better for me to just turn home here. But I get a little idea right here.
I will add that my control in both the mech games was kind of poor. And this is actually, like, what I'm doing with my muse right now is what I should have been doing the whole time, just to make sure there's no reinforcements that are coming. Because you'll still have time to move back. I probably shouldn't have been up that far, and I shouldn't have been up that far that late. But I do manage to clean it up anyway.
Yeah,
Can you guys just say, like, from this point, how are each of you feeling as far as, like, flow of the game? When you clean up that push, do you feel like Zerg's ahead, or is
I felt great after that. Because I wasn't feeling... Like I said, I was kind of tilted because of the Overlord speed thing already. And I wasn't even sure if I was going to survive. But when I cleaned it up pretty handily, I thought I was definitely in the lead here.
Yeah, I traded it like okay there, but the fact that I threw away my army when I'm going for a second timing attack just means that my second push is going to be that much weaker. So I still thought I had a decent chance here because we were going pretty heavy on units, so I have potential to kind of get out of it at this point. Also, I got a pretty good trade right there.
And that was me getting my hotkeys mixed up. And while I'm trying to, like, still in my head, I'm thinking, like, I need to be moving my mutas in unison, but it was a tragic misstep.
Yeah.
I took a lot of free damage there, and I didn't really do any damage. I killed, like, 1 or 2 SCVs. I just wanted to get some harass down and see if Father was doing trying to get a starport up yet, or if he was still just producing pure Goliath.
Yeah.
But definitely shouldn't have taken that extra damage.
Okay, so right now I'm doing my push because I got 1-1, but honestly I don't think I should be on the map at this point. His army can just straight up fight mine at this point. And that's never something you really want as mech, but I thought I was kind of obligated to do this to make sure that he's not just going to expand a bunch behind it, and also I needed some way to get my third base in the map. And as long as he has mutas, just like 2 or 3 control groups of mutas, it's going to be so hard for me to take an expansion. And I need like time to set up for it and set up reinforcements there. So that was the main reason I was pushing here, but honestly, with the vision that I have now, I'm like pretty certain that I shouldn't have been pushing here.
Yeah, I think it worked out well for you because I was thrown off by that botched harass that I had. I was thinking I was like pretty disadvantaged at this point. But again, what I should be doing right now is trying to like cut off reinforcements or straight up like backstab and do some damage. Yeah. Because I can always just like when I see that he's committing to trying to siege down my natural, I can return after I've done the damage and cut off reinforcements. But I'm not doing that because I'm just kind of scared.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about like the counter attack potential with Zerg versus mech, and like especially mass muta versus mech? Yeah,
so I mean, the strength of mutas against mech is their mobility, right? Mech is slow, but it's powerful. So this army is in the middle of the map. Eventually, I'm going to be able to build up an army that will be able to. But if I cut off these reinforcing Goliaths here, like he'll never be able to make his army stronger than it is right now, right? Theoretically, if I'm playing correctly with my, and he'll have a small army at his main and natural, so I can do damage there. That makes sense. But I also ended up. Half of my army wasn't going to this fight because of his reinforcements. It was just a really poorly executed attack, but I still ended up cleaning it up.
Yeah, the really important thing though, one thing that I did do well here was splitting off that one Goliath. I probably should have split off like 2 or 3, but I split off that extra Goliath just to check for 4th bases because I know that I'm putting a bunch of pressure on his natural, and either he's going to backstab me or he's going to use his army to look for reinforcements, or he's going to fight me. So to take a little bit more army and go split off to kill that Goliath, it's just like more APM, I guess, to deal with less meters or whatever. So it's really important when you can to do a really small action to give yourself a big advantage, like APM wise. So something like a small drop or just like a little run by to take your opponent's attention away is important. So yeah, I take this 4th base. I really shouldn't have. My thought process here was basically, I am just in a terrible situation. He has a more mobile army than mine, and also his army is more powerful than mine. So I need time to get up turrets and defenses at my 3rd base before he knows about it. But he pretty much immediately spots it with Zerglings. So at this point, I just thought I was going to lose the base. So I just panicked, throw up as many turrets as I can. Just like, I really got to try to make this work somehow. It probably would have just been better for me to take either of the other thirds that are like more natural. But I tried to make this work.
Why did you take this third again?
So I just was in such a bad position that I thought I needed like a little bit of time before he realized it was there, so I could get up to it.
Oh, so it was a hidden base.
Yeah. But
okay.
Also, it's once I take that base and I secure it, I can also take my 3rd base. That's like right below my main, and then I'm basically set up on 4 bases, and then I can take my mineral only to the right of that. So if I can secure this base, I'm in a really strong spot. Basically, was my thought. So it was just like, I'm disadvantaged. I'm just going to take a risk here. If it pays off, then I can still win this game. And even though I lose a lot of SCVs here, these Zerglings do get cleaned up, and I'm able to get up a lot of turrets so that any attack that he takes here is going to be really inefficient for him. Yeah, Keen, if you want to talk a little bit about what you were thinking about this game.
This game was like a series of like mistakes by me that ended up like throwing me off. And then this was another one of them where I immediately started kicking myself when I sent that scouting link, because I shouldn't have even let the command center get down. I should have had like scouting links on the map at your future 3rd locations way ahead of time. Another thing that we kind of glossed over is that I had an earlier 4th base where it died to just 1 Goliath, but I don't even remember exactly what my thought process was during the game, because I was aware that the 1 Goliath was attacking it, and it single-handedly killed the hatchery, but I was kind of afraid or pressured, I guess, to send, like, it makes no sense to me now, because just sending one, or like one group of mutas, or even half a group of mutas to go kill it would have been easily done, and then I could still get them back in time to fend off any like attack by natural. But I was just kind of tilting mentally, and Father was putting on pressure that it was kind of paper tiger pressure, that, like he was saying, but it ended up working.
Yeah.
Like, and then once I saw the 3rd, though, I was just, I don't know. I was pretty. I think I had mentally lost it at that point. I was really disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
All right, so at this point, I guess Father gets his 3rd base up, but like you have I guess 5 hatcheries. I mean, your 5th base isn't really saturated, but you have like you're kind of even or up on supply. So did you feel like you were behind here?
Yeah, I did feel like I was behind, because another thing, my Hydra switch was pretty late. When I first saw the vessel, like I was saying earlier, ideally I would have been like harassing and getting scouting information with my mutas earlier, so I would see the starport and the vessels were going to be coming even before I see them out on the map. So like another thing that was a mental loss for me was seeing the vessel out already when I was attacking the 3rd with the mutas. And then so I'm just now getting my carapace and range upgrades and my Hydra upgrades, because Irradiate just does so much damage to mutas, right? So you don't want to keep making a ton of mutas. You want to keep like, two solid groups of mutas as a backbone, but then switch into Hydralisks. And ideally, they won't have the economy at this point. Like you see, Father is mined out that like he won't be able to produce a ton of tanks. And if he does go overboard on tanks, you can always just switch back to mutas. But you can hear.
So yeah, the big risk about playing against mass mutas is having them be able to sit over your production and you not be able to do anything about it. But Once they have that's really easy for me to come back and start putting a lot of units. I was able to trade taking his 5th base for basically just inefficiently trading my Goliaths. But yeah, this trade didn't end up going well for Keen. And like all of these mutalisks are super damaged, so they can't take any straight up fights at this point. And after trading bases like that, now we're on even bases. Like Strom said, the drone saturation isn't there, so.
That's a lot of damage for free. Yeah, I think my Muta movement was just really off this entire. I don't know why I decided to go straight to a direction that your glass would obviously be coming to. I was also trying to buy time with the counterattack, just so I could get at least Hydra speed done. Like Hydra range is still researching right now, but these engagements, you don't want your army to be split like this. I constantly do this in both mech games actually, where instead of having my army come in at the same time in a good arc, I have it come into his arc, which is obviously not good. You don't want to be splitting up your army so half of your army can be getting hit by all of his army.
Yeah, so it's still not really ideal for me to be out on the map at this point. But there's a couple of saving graces here. My thought process was basically I'm still behind in the game after that big Mutalisk trade, but I have an army advantage right now. So if I can push and put pressure on him, I can prevent him from getting up to like 6-7 bases full saturation. So even though I'm not going to be able to trade like ultra efficiently, like a late game mech composition, I'll still have some ability to trade efficiently because I have a lot of irradiates. And like Keen said, his switch was late to Hydras, so they're only on 1-1 right now. So my 2-1 army will be able to trade like fairly effectively. But yeah, again, being on the map this soon with your mech army isn't super ideal. It really does just get better and better the bigger it gets. So you only really want to be on the map like in certain situations where you have it on, so you can get the pressure on. That would for something, but like you see here, I'm going to use this stuff on me. There's a bunch of Goliaths, and so yeah, this is still like a dire situation in my opinion. The only thing else that comes upon me isn't where it could be.
I was feeling like I was in a pretty bad position here, but I was just hoping that your economy wasn't super strong yet, because I knew you were mined out, right? I don't like Hydras. Also want you want to be waiting until you have like a critical mass with Hydras. It's obviously better for mech, but I think it was actually a poor decision for me to like throw away my Hydras just to try to thin your army out.
Huh. Okay.
I don't know, but I mean, honestly I was kind of unsure of what to do here.
Yeah.
I was feeling like I needed to put pressure onto your third and see if I could deny it, your fourth rather, but that didn't happen. And now I'm just thinking like, what can I possibly do to come back? Because I know that you have vessels out now, you have tanks.
It's so funny because you keep saying like come back, but you're still ahead on supply.
Yeah, it's.
I just like, is it just bases?
Well, I think. Well, okay, so when you're in the game, a big problem that lower level players have, and lower level being like anyone that's not a pro, but
yeah,
it's like people have a tendency to think they're more behind than they are, because if you don't have like a perfect understanding of how each race's economy works and stuff, you kind of just imagine that they're like, okay, I'm sure they have 60 drones here, and I'm sure their upgrades are coming along, and I'm sure their hive tech is done, when only like one or two of those things can be true. So yeah, you can hear from both of our analysis that like we aren't super sure of where in the game we are relative to the other player. We both think we're behind in places where we may not be. So that's like one of the hardest parts about StarCraft is you have to really keep in mind all the different diverging paths where your opponent could be and where they are in comparison to yourself. And I don't have any answers on how to improve that because it's really goddamn hard.
Yeah, well put. And
I guess like something that you can work on is you try and play, like if you just are in general a little bit defensive and slow when you play, you can just try playing that all out aggressive. And you probably lose a lot, but it'll teach you about yeah, this is just another engagement that just went really slowly. My radius did a ton of damage. Hydra was just getting murdered by tanks, and the game is pretty much over at this point. I think it really just boiled down to the economy. You never had like a portion of time where you droned really heavily, and like I play against dudes that are like 2K or whatever, and I feel like I lose one fight and they instantly have 65 drones and 5 bases.
Yeah, I didn't drone as heavily after winning that initial like 830 or so as I could have, but I think like honestly one of the big things was that, and it's so stupid, the one Goliath that killed my early fourth.
Yeah.
Like if I got that base up and running faster, I mean there were multiple parts of this game where I completely threw it away, but I think that's kind of the silliest one.
Yeah, and so it's just important that when you're losing games within a bad spot and you know you're in a bad spot, I mean, obviously don't give up, whatever, it's right advice, but like, you have to think about ways that you can still win the game and just be like, okay, if everything went wrong for your opponent, like what's the one thing that I could do to get back into this game? Like just assume that it's going to go disastrously for your opponent. And so I was like, okay, yeah, split off one Goliath. Maybe he'll overestimate how much I have with this push. That's why I took the third base kind of in a weird hidden spot. It was just like, okay, I needed to get lucky to get back in this game, and I needed him to make mistakes. But if I just leave him alone, those aren't going to happen. So you have to force mistakes out of your opponent.
You and Jinjin always make fun of like Flash tutorials because Flash always says, just stay calm and you'll win. But in this case, that's actually an example of that. If I had stayed calm and kind of thought through what you were just saying and made more rational choices during the game, I certainly would have won.
Yeah. It was a spot where if he had perfect knowledge of like what I was doing, there was no way that he could possibly lose it. But StarCraft isn't a game of perfect knowledge, so there are opportunities for you to just win by absolute bullshit and just get back into it. So stay hopeful, play with a light heart, try to opportunities for win conditions that are really stupid.
Play with a light heart, very good advice.
Yeah. I think Nada said that once, and I thought that was a great quote, so now I just say it a bunch.
Very on brand. We don't have any questions in the chat yet, so you guys are welcome to go on to the game.
Cool. So yeah, let's start with this game. This one's on match point. So my only experience with match point is that I watch a lot of pro like VODs and I watch a lot of streamers on Africa, and Koreans really love to play on this map for some reason. It's in the ASL map pool, so I get it, but there's a lot of pro matches that happen on this map. So I've watched a decent amount of TVZ. I think it's a map that is strong for mech, but I see bio played on here too. And I just kind of wanted to switch it up from mech at this point, because I don't want to give Keen like enough in-game practice against me on it, like in the same day. Like if you play someone multiple times in a row with the same strategy, they're going to start noticing the little optimizations you do in your build order and like the little unique ways that you play, and they can start to abuse them. So I was really focused this series on switching up my builds. So I decided to play bio, which I'm a little bit weaker with and less comfortable with than mech. But yeah, I think you can play bio on this map too pretty easily.
Yeah, I think it's good for both styles as well. It's definitely fine for bio, in my opinion. I think match point, like I wasn't happy with all the 2-player maps that I had to play. Like I don't like playing ZVT on Overwatch. I don't like playing ZVT on match point. So I didn't even really practice this map specifically. It was just a 2-hatch Muta map for me. But even 2-hatch Muta, I don't think is like it's not the greatest map for it. It's not bad by any means, but I think like there's definitely advantageous terrain for microing mutas over the natural and so on. But I think it's actually easier than Sylphid to get like a really pretty good coverage of your base with turrets.
You did an extractor trick on this map and did a really fast scout. What were you expecting from Father on this map?
I ended up doing that a lot in this series, and that was simply so I could get an earlier idea if he was 8-raxing or not, because the third game, I responded pretty poorly with my drone micro against it. So I guess I just wanted to see ahead of time if I was going to have to be facing that. But honestly, I don't think it paid off in any of the games, so it just slightly slowed down my economy.
One important thing I noticed here when I get in scouting is that I see he went gas before pool. So gas before pool is a really dangerous build to play against as Terran. It means their Mutalisks are going to come out super fast, and also because you can tell it's gas before pool because as soon as his pool finishes, his lair starts. So when you see that, you have to be conscious of the fact that he can also get really quick ling speed. So if you lose your SCV early on, you really have to build a bunker because at any time they could just build 8 lings, go to your base with speedlings and kill you if you're not prepared. So gas before pool is really dangerous. You just have to survive the initial onslaught though, and you'll be at an advantage economically because they have to cut drones and delay stuff to do this. But yeah,
I will say that is one advantage I had from the early drone scout is that because I saw that you were going regular build, I could be a little more greedy with that. I actually made a couple extra drones.
Yeah. And so yeah, you see the ling speed is like almost halfway down already. So also another thing that can happen is like I keep my scouting SCV in his main the whole time. I have no idea if he's just building lings at his natural and he's just gonna like come kill me. So I think honestly, if you see gas before pull, you should just build a bunker blindly, regardless. There's just too many opportunities to die, and you can take the economic hit and still be in a fine spot from building that bunker. I should have just taken the fight with that SCV. Oh yeah, I also like playing bio on this map because you can build your barracks like along this little choke path. I think that's really cool.
Do you ever get yourself into positions where Zergs just like relentlessly help them with their mutas and you just straight up lose because of that? Or do you find that your turret placement and your micro is good enough to?
Yeah, one of my biggest sticking points with bio is that I have a hard time scouting against 2-hatch Muta, like whether they're going to continue building Mutalisks or whether they're going to transition out of it. And so I think that was definitely my biggest mistake this matchup was that I didn't keep track of his Mutalisk count. I didn't keep track of his upgrades, so my turret placement was pretty weak, and I didn't keep adding additional turrets as I saw that he was going harder and harder into Mutalisks. And I think as the game continues, you actually see me scout around a lot and like check for third bases, and I don't see anything, but yet I don't respond intelligently and realize that, okay, he's probably either continuing with Mutalisks or he's hacking or something, and just like throw it on a scan, check really quick, double check that kind of stuff. So the really important thing is if you're going to do scouting, at least use the intelligence that you gain by scouting. Otherwise, there's no point to doing it. So yeah, you see me move out on the map. This is just normal with T-Rex Academy. You want to force them to build some sunks. But if they're going gas before pool, their Mutalisks are going to be out by the time that your bio gets there. So you have to be really conscious of not just immediately losing your first bio on the map.
I will point out that I actually messed up the build. I'm kind of under-droned here because I overmade Overlords. And so that threw me off. But my build was just slightly off. And I was too scared of whether or not I could actually micro down this Marine force, so I made it on. I think, like, theoretically, you shouldn't need it, but I wasn't feeling super confident I needed micro.
Yeah, so this stage of the game is really hard for Terran. If you misjudge your opponent, they can just overwhelm you with Ling Muta, and you lose your first army, and then you're put in a really terrible position. But at the same time, you really want to keep map presence as much as possible, because as long as he's over here microing against my Marines, he's not killing my SCVs, he's not harassing me, slowing my factory down, whatever. So the fact that I'm out on the map at all is really good, but at this point, I'm trapping my I never left myself an opportunity to reinforce. So I probably was too far forward. I should have been more on my half of the map, so I could reinforce and then threaten even a bigger bust, force more sonks, etc. So, yeah, like I said, I'm really not confident with my bio. I think the biggest part of that is that decision making, whether you can be on the map or whether you have to stay in your base, where your Marines should be, stuff like that. So basically through the rest of this game, you kind of just see him demolish me with a good meter micro. And on top of that, he's just continuing to go into Mutalisks. He's getting his upgrade. Yeah, he's getting his armor upgrade for it. So a combination of him just out-microing me and me not responding properly to my scouting, you kind of just see me start to fall apart as the game continues.
One thing I will add that Father did mention about the initial mutic or M&M group that was out on the map. One thing he did well and I did really poorly was picking up the lings, because in that situation you want to be keeping your ling numbers at around like 6 to 8 lings. So when you do decide to engage and finally kill that little M&M ball, you have a solid group of lings to add in some DPS there. I was really sloppy with keeping them like hovering on the edges of the Terran army, and so I lost like 5 lings for free.
Can you talk a little bit about, like, when you do a build like this, it's really heavy on mutas, what are you, and you're microing in their base, what are you looking to kill? Like, what's your goal? What are you focusing on killing?
For me, SCVs are like the top thing. If I can kill SCVs, I'll target them. If you see them come in with Marines, obviously you have to target the Marines or run away if you think... I mean, anytime you see a big Marine ball swimming towards you, just run away from that, obviously. You don't want to be fighting Marines while they're stemmed. Just go to a different part of their base. I was... His natural is kind of under-turreted, so I should have actually been putting more pressure on this.
No.
Which I should have realized, because I actually did kill the one turret, and I should have pressed that advantage harder. Another thing you look for, obviously, is tech. Science facility timing is a big one. But I was honestly, this is another game where I was mentally tilted because of the under-droning and my little build mistakes. I was thinking this was a pretty bad place for me to be, because I couldn't actually get my third up because I was just so gas-starved. Because I was thinking, like, I just need to go all into Muta, but...
And honestly, I think I was actually really in a solid spot until this engagement. I should have been building my turrets, and I should have just realized what we were doing, going so heavy in the middle. But at least I'm and you can feel my best if it's like pop. So I think it was almost through the period of like that initial lockdown where you can't get the build. But yeah, the fact that I was just not so efficient in the build, I didn't have enough turrets, and I didn't scout in time to do good, caused me to just straight up die.
But yeah, going back to like misunderstanding your position in games, like to me that was like a Hail Mary for me. I was really relieved when I won. I thought it was a lot.
Yeah.
Was the final, like, moving with all your mutalists, was that just like desperation, like, we'll just see if I have enough to kill this?
Yeah, I knew he was getting up to vessels, and if I didn't kill him, my economy was just in dire straits. So yeah, I hit a critical mass of mutas, and my upgrade was finished, and all of those factors led me to just go in. Like without your third gas, it's really a super all-in build. It's really hard to go into Hive Tech and get Guardians or get Lurkers and Swarm with just 2 gases because you still have to keep up a certain amount of mutas to make sure he can't just build up a critical mass and kill you, right? So I was kind of just like pushed into a corner, essentially, by a combination of my own build inefficiencies and Father's initial Marine Medic move out and my sunken response.
And so, yeah, I think like a really important lesson to take away from that is that you have to keep in mind what advantages you have in the game. Like, even if you feel like overall you're behind, there are probably still certain parts of the game at which you're advantaged. So, like, my tech was better, my economy was better, but my army wasn't really together, and it wasn't. His big advantage was his army, his timings on his upgrades, and just like the critical mass that he got. So, just like, even if you think you're behind, you have to think about what small areas you're advantaged in, and then use that to make your strategy for the rest of the game. So, like, a lot of players lose to rush strategies or all-in strategies, or like timing attacks. And they're like, well, I had way more workers than them, and my tech was faster, and this and that. But it's just like, well, you lost. And if you had kept in mind what advantages you had and didn't have, you could have made a strategy to prevent losing there.
It's just so hard to do that in the middle of a game.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, it's gonna take. I'm not even close to being able to do that kind of stuff, and it just takes so much.
It requires, like, that's why people tell you to watch your replays every time you lose.
Yeah.
That's how you can build that sort of game sense. But also just studying professional streams every chance you get, watching first-person VODs, watching VODs of ASL games, like watching replays. It just takes a lot of studying.
Definitely.
All right, I think we're ready to jump into the game. It's going to be the Crossing Field game. Or, sorry, not Crossing Field, Neo Bloody Ridge.
Yeah.
I can't remember which number this game was.
Yeah, I don't either. But, so yeah, thoughts on this map. This is another map that I don't have much experience playing on. I've only really watched games on this map, and from my understanding, it's pretty good for mech also. You can split the map really easily, and there's a lot of weird high ground, low ground situations that you can abuse with your army placement, army movement. So yeah, I was definitely feeling mech on this game, on this map in particular, but I haven't played enough on it to give you really good tips for it. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really play on it very much before this week, but once I had started preparing for it this week, I figured, well, like 100% he was going to go mech, because one thing that bothers me about it, I need to watch more pro games on it just to see their SimCity, but the SimCity I end up setting up here, I actually add in a den even though I don't plan on going. My game plan here is the same as it was on the Sylphid game. I don't really want to go into early Hydras, but I make a den just for the SimCity, just so there's no threat of a vulture run by. But even that, my gas is still exposed. Like the natural is just so wide open, and so I was fully expecting him to throw in some like vulture shenanigans and still be able to like put pressure on the right side of my natural.
Yeah, a big thing when I watch pro games on this map where they go mech is that their vulture harassment is just nonstop. Like, there's so many opportunities to do run-bys. Every time someone moves out on a map, there's already a dropship swinging by the Zerg main to drop off a couple vultures. So that seems like one of the biggest abusable parts about this map as well. Yeah. Definitely an area I could have stepped up on this game. But I'm still learning how to play late game mech. My solid understanding kind of begins and ends with those 2 timing attacks from that flash VOD, or from that flash guide.
Yeah, and that's a good point to make about the vultures. And I can make the same point about my mutas, actually.
Yeah.
Like, every time you were moving out and going out on the map, like, both games I dropped the ball, but this game I dropped the ball even worse with my mutalist grass and my backstabbing. When I see you moving out, I should really be trying to like force as much damage and as much of a reaction from you as I can at all of those points. And like whenever I win an engagement or clean up an army, like do the same thing. But this game, I know it's like a constant theme of me kind of like mentally losing it for myself. Yeah, I think I didn't do nearly as much damage with my Mutalisk Grasp this game because I was also kind of like still thrown off by the game on Sylphid and all my Muta mismicros.
Yeah, it's definitely like the hardest part about StarCraft, I think, is just keeping track of where you are in the game. It's so hard without that extreme game sense. But yeah, it's important to try and abuse that as much as possible and put your opponent in really uncomfortable situations. Because StarCraft really is a mental game as much as it is like digital and what's happening on the screen. So making the game as uncomfortable for your opponent as possible is really important. Like I was talking to my friend who's a wrestler, and he was describing wrestling to me a little bit, and a lot of it is just putting your opponent in so much pain that they just tap. So if you're just putting your opponent in a lot of uncomfortable situations and choking them out, you can win games that you really shouldn't, just because your opponent gets flustered and makes mistakes. So I think that was really the common theme in this whole series, was that Keen had really solid play and he got himself in advantage situations just because he has better mechanics than me and game sense to a certain extent. But when things started to go wrong, I was able to kind of throw him off with like the different builds that I was doing, and just like stupid strategies, taking risks, taking stupid bases, really just abusing it as much as possible.
And I think you did that excellently, but I don't want to take away from that at all, but I feel like I was putting myself in that pain too.
Oh yeah, totally. It's a two-person situation. Like if I was playing against Flash, he wouldn't give a shit about any of the stuff I was doing. Like he would know that it's all posturing and it's all fake. But if you don't have like that perfect game knowledge, it can be really, really hard.
And it's also just like when you're microing mutas, for example, and you mess up a couple times, it's just like it really kills your personal confidence because I mean you start expecting that you'll just mess it up every time, right? But you can't have that attitude. Like you still have to try to get it done.
Yeah.
So yeah, this game I'm just doing the 2.5 hatch thing again. And I guess you're doing the same exact 2-factory Goliath.
Yes. No differences this time. I managed to keep my SCV alive, so I'm able to go double check that you don't have any third bases. So I was able to know exactly where I was in this game in comparison to you, which was really important. Nothing really to note. I go for the engineering bay before the third factory again, just to stay safe. I'm going for armor first, so you know I'm going for those two timing attacks at +1 armor and +1/+1.
Yeah, there aren't really any variations where Goliaths get +1 weapon first, right? That's not really a thing.
Well, if you go for +1 weapons first, it tends to mean that you're trying to go for more of a macro game and you're not going for those like super hard timings.
Oh, okay, I see. I wasn't aware that was even a popular variation.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was peeking in with the Vultures the whole time, and I saw that he had Sin City that was open at his gas. And so I knew mutas were right about to pop out, so I thought I could just get a couple drone kills before he gets mutas on the map anyways, and drives away my vultures anyways. So I knew my vultures were probably going to die. I could just get a couple drones for my trouble.
Yeah, I think that was a great example of where you were causing the pain, because during that, my little like inner artosis was coming out. I'm like, this fucking guy, he knows he's going to lose these vultures anyway. He can get those drone kills for free, so he might as well. It's so unfair.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the case for you, but when I start tilting and those invasive thoughts get in my head like that, it really feels like it's mostly a focus problem. Like, just even having the brain power to think about dumb stuff like that, it's just like, for me at least, it's like I'm just not focused on the game enough.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, you definitely shouldn't be having those at all. It's terrible. Yeah. But even if I wasn't taking those, it still is forcing me to focus on rebuilding those drones and getting everything back in order, getting 3 drones on the gas. Like, even if the opponent has, like, you know, a will of steel, they're still getting taxed by that.
Yeah. And yeah, anything to throw off your opponent's build, because everyone, when they practice their build, they're used to doing it a certain way. They have X amount of drones at 7 minutes or whatever, and so even just a small thing where you throw a little hiccup, a little wrench into their plan, so they have a couple less drones than they think, their timings start to fall apart a little bit, and then they're missing other timings that are like based on first timing, the mental advantage you get to. So
that was so good. You almost pick up one muta. Like, no. See, I was just, my mutas were there in the middle of the map. It made no sense. So I get a bunch of damage done for free. Now I'm just in a terrible position. But like we've been saying, I was thrown off. I didn't want to be more active around his base because I was losing that confidence in myself and my muta ability.
So yeah, I didn't commit to the third here. Again, I think it was questionable. I was in a better situation to do this, I think. And then just wasn't confident about getting in my last time. And he has less than this.
Well, you were in a much better position here simply because for most of this battle, my +1 carapace hadn't finished yet. It was actually like 30 seconds late.
I didn't notice that. So yeah, again though, really just no point in doing that trade for me. Like, it works out for me in the end, but I have no army now. I have no ability to take a third. I'm gonna have to really do some, like, when I do this next push with my tanks and my 1-1, I'm gonna have to get a third up. And once again, you see me do the you'll see me in a minute do the really dumb strategy of just taking a random ass third at bottom right, and it pays off again because he has scouting lings at my natural third, and he keeps poking in with mutas at my other third up on like 12 o'clock. But yeah, I really, there's no reason for me to take a dumb third at bottom right like I will in a bit.
How long did you have it up? I haven't watched this game yet.
I don't think it even finishes. Like, I think I see the mutalisks coming, so I take the SCV off and then I cancel it. But maybe that was the other game. But no, it doesn't go up. And yeah, this is just a confidence issue on my end. Like, I have a lot of experience executing the 5 factory push, but after that, I don't really know how to transition out of it very well. So I guess I feel the need to like get a little sneaky advantage by taking a ninja third. Don't do that. Just learn to play solid. Don't be like me.
Father, can you talk a little bit, because you've mentioned this, and I think games that we've watched so far, about your initial push, like committing with your initial push and losing it instead of sending it back. Like, but you're kind of not being super clear on what you wish you would have done with the push.
Yeah.
So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you saw with my first push, like, I got across the map, I killed an overlord, and then I got that little trade with the mutalisks where like he was caught off guard for a second, I almost killed one for free. That's basically like what the push is supposed to accomplish. It's supposed to put you, like, it's supposed to see if your opponent is being legit, like they're not taking an insane amount of expansions. You're making sure they have sunken colonies up, and then if your opponent wants to engage you in the middle of the map with like just mutalisks, you can just micro the hell out of that and you're going to trade great. So it's more important for you to keep your army alive, and rather than doing damage. Like, you can move across the map with your first push and do no damage, and you're still in an okay spot, because your next push is going to be like 3 times as large. You're going to have 1-1, you're going to have 2 tanks. So yeah, there's no requirement for that first push. There's nothing you need to accomplish with it. It's
right. So at what point should you send it home, I guess?
Usually what I do is I move out to my opponent's natural, I check for sunkens. If they have even like 1 or 2 sunkens, I'm just going to back off. I'm not going to take that fight. And then I go find my opponent's third base, see if they have sunkens there. Then at that point, you can sit outside their natural a little bit longer, see if they're making hydras. But then you probably want to start turning around after that and meet up with the rest of your army and get ready to do your 1-1 push. But yeah, like you see right now on the map, I'm just kind of sitting out here, forcing him to be wary of my army. I'm able to deny his 4th at top left, and keep him on 3 bases. And for the most part, I'm able to keep his muralistic harassment to a minimum, just because he knows my army's on the map. But he comes and finds my stupid hidden 3rd base. But yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot you actually canceled it.
And like, if I just taken my third base at a normal place, I would have had reinforcements like able to come and defend that from my factory's building. But I just thought that I needed some gimmick to get back in the game, which is just really stupid. There's no reason to think that.
But you're so far ahead of me now here. Like, I think the key difference here is that I didn't drone up nearly as much as I should have after fending off that initial attack. Like that's the big difference between this game and the game on Sylphid. Like I was just continuously low on drones. Like I only have 6 drones in my natural right now. My third has okay saturation, but not ideal. And then I've been losing. I've been like bleeding mutas this entire time. Like I probably didn't prepare enough on this map because my muta movement was just trying to get into your base and scout. I've been just so poor. I've been taking 3 shots the entire time, and I just get destroyed here.
Yeah. So when you're doing this push as a Terran, you only have like 2 or 3 tanks. So if they're going mass mutalisks, they can just focus down your tanks really quick. So you have to make sure that you have your Goliaths on a perfect spread around your tanks, so that if they do commit to that, they're going to take an insane amount of damage. And then after that, you can just push it into their sunks like 9 times out of 10, because they're going to lose so many mutalisks. So don't get too discouraged if they go pick off your tanks. But yeah, just a lot of small victories throughout the game, leading off units. And I was able to trade well enough to win that fight there.
Alright guys, this is going to be the last game that we go over from this series. If we go over all 9 games, it's going to start to get really long. So we're just going to do one more, and it's going to be the Tau Cross game from Monday. If you have any questions for the 2 players, just put them in the Twitch chat, and Lisa and I will come at the end of the stream.
Yeah, give us some questions, Jinjin.
He's just a hater, don't listen to him. Alright, so yeah, when I saw I was going to be playing on Tau Cross, I said a little like curse in my head towards the CPL admins. I've never played on this map. I also have not been around long enough to have watched any games on this map. So my entire knowledge of the map is based off the picture of it that I pulled up on my phone while I was playing, so I knew where the bases were. I saw there's a lot of flat ground. There's no like ramps really. So I was thinking I was going to go Bile on this map and just try and punish his third base really heavily, put a lot of pressure on it. Because if they don't have ramps, they don't have really good lurker positioning, and it makes it a lot easier for you to bust.
See, that I was so surprised that you went Bio, because I was totally thinking that you were going to go... Because, like, just from my perspective as Zerg, if you go mech, like, where the fuck am I supposed to take my third? where is a good location on this map for that?
Here,
the third here is so wide open, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. This is a weird map. Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I probably should have just made a bunch of speed filters. But yeah, again, I wanted to keep switching it up, and I wanted to keep Keen on his toes by constantly switching back between mech, bio, and 8 racks.
But
if nothing else, just to force him to scout, like that puts a little bit of hurt on their economy right from the start.
Yeah. So I was really hoping that you would go Marine Medic, because I wasn't happy with this at all during practice, like the prospect of playing it, but I kind of wanted to go like Hydra Lurker one game, and I was planning on this being the map that I would do it on. I really wanted to do like a Hydra Lurker drop game, because the bases are so wide open. I felt like it would have been insanely hard to defend drops. So I was a little relieved when I saw that you were going Marine Medic, but I will also add, going back into the mental aspect of the series, right now I was 2-4, and this was potentially match point for me in the series. and I was at my like lowest point mentally here, so I was so thrown off. I end up making a sunken when I don't even need it because like I was so tilted during the game I couldn't even tell what you're like. I don't know. Yeah, I just. So I end up going for like a 3-hatch lurker build, thinking at some point I'll work it into a Hydra lurker. But I'm also thinking like I need to do something crazy here to come back. So I end up going for a 3-hatch lurker build, but I get Ling speed before I start my lair actually, and I'm just banging out the hope that like the scouting SCV will just stay in my main. And a lot of times in games, I hope Father has picked this up, but whether I'm going like 2-hatch or 3-hatch, I'll make the lair at my natural.
Yeah.
And so he won't be able to get a read on whether or not I spend my first 100 gas on the lair or I spend my first 100 gas on the lanes. If he's not like really proactive with his SCV movement.
Yeah, and I think, well, not this game, but I at some point there were games where I did my best to dip into the natural for a second, just to swing by really quick to see if it's morphing to lair. Definitely something I can improve on. So I scout 3 hatchery, and so most Terrans at this point will just go into +1 5 racks, which is an incredibly strong build. Highly recommend you run that build. But I decided I want to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go 2 racks Academy here, but I'm cutting SCVs, get my gas early, and then get my Academy early. So I'm going for a stem rush. I'm only going to be moving out with like 10 Marines as opposed to 12, which you usually would with 2 racks Academy. But my stem's going to be down really early. My medics will be out really early, and I'm going to stem across the map and hopefully just bust him. It turns out that's pretty much like the complete worst strategy I could have chosen. Because like you said, Keen is going for more Ling heavy early game rather than like getting 2 sunkens and playing defensively, which this can work really well against. So yeah, I wouldn't want to say countered because I did scout that you're going 3-hatch, so this was a risk I was taking. But yeah, like Keen said, I was up 4-2 at this point, and so I wanted to start taking big risks as if I hadn't been up into this point, and just try and finish out this series really quickly while I had a mental advantage. So I don't know if that was the wisest choice, regardless of the fact that I do get pretty countered. I think it's better when you have that advantage just to play more solid, and your opponent will just naturally make mistakes because they're tilted. I know as well as anyone.
This attack is actually crazy though.
Yeah,
I feel like I got such a good angle. But
oh yeah, totally. Look at my Marines. They're at and
oh my god,
dude. Line. You'll meet them at like the. I can't even.
But I mismicroed. I didn't push in the lanes enough, and I let you get that perfect little arc there. So it actually does so much better than it should have.
Yeah, you got to destroy the first half of my army really quickly, but then I got to tuck the rest into that little nook there. So I traded like not as disastrously as it could have been, but at this point, I know things are in dire straits. He can be doing whatever the hell he wants behind it. I scan and I see that it's Hydras, or that it's probably Lurkers. And so normally when you scout this as Terran, your next move is to put pressure on the Zerg. But I just lost my whole army, so I ain't putting pressure on shit. So I'm just sitting here in my natural. I have to get ready for the inevitable Lurker Ling counterattack that's coming. But I'm putting out missile turrets. What the hell is this? I scout that you're going for Hydras, or I scout that you have the Hydra Den, but I guess I just didn't like see all of your creep and I wanted to be sure. But that was just like a stupid blunder. There was no reason for me to do this. Like, these missile turrets could have been like 6 bunkers. So I just like, this situation went from bad to worse with that building those turrets.
Yeah, whenever you see lurkers, I think you need at least like 2 bunkers. I was pretty surprised when I saw that.
Yeah.
But my whole build was still, my lurkers were actually a little later than they should have been. I was still feeling like I was on the back foot because you did way better with that Ling attack. But then you go too far out here, and
that was just like a perfect storm of things messing up. Like, I was able to be out on the map at that point because I had 3 fire bats with my army, so there's no way you can do this system.
And that's actually what you want. You want to be out on the map against lurkers.
So I don't think, in theory, being out on the map was a bad thing there. I think that was just an expensive map. Like, you're just kind of at the top of the army. I didn't even realize they could come from that angle, so you're getting to make mistakes here. I can't even kill this last local with a correct. But yeah, this game is over at this point. He can keep streaming Ling Lurker across the map for the rest of the game. You can see him making drones though, so like, no matter what you do from this situation, it's pretty much impossible. I have no army. My tech is non-existent.
Yeah, but like you 100% want to be out on the map, but you just want to, like you said, know being able to where the units will be coming from, of course.
Yeah,
but if you can force every time you force the Zerg to throw their lurker, then take a little bit of damage and then have to come forward a little bit, like that's what you want to be doing as Terran in this situation.
Yeah, but yeah, the nightmare scenario is basically just getting contained by lurkers, because at that point they're free to check up the hive and rally a couple of pilots across the map and just end the game. But it doesn't get to that point. I try one last desperation Hail Mary to break out, I think, or maybe just the Lings come in and kill me. I don't even. Yeah, you just come in and kill me, I think. I try and beat Boxer, but I'm not that.
Jinjin, motherfucker, give us some questions.
Yeah. What do you want to learn? What do you want to learn?
Dude, this whole series is an example of why Just Stay Calm is actually really good.
I think at the end of the day, that's like the big takeaway. Is like, honestly, I was looking at these replays yesterday in preparation. I'm just like, how did I even win this series? I don't think I played particularly well in a lot of the games. My decision making was really bad. But I guess my mechanics were just there so that like I could give you an opportunity to make the mistakes that let me get back into the game. So there's something to be said for that, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of mentally gamed myself. Honestly, I'm surprised you said you think my mechanics are better, because I think the mechanics are better than mine.
Alright, so I did have one person send me a question. They want to know about Game 8, which was the BS game on Eddie, because we've had a lot of people say, like, why did Father be out of that game?
Okay,
and you also did a BBS against Artificial where you also GG'd, and people were like, why did he GG from that game? So maybe just like talk a little bit about your BBS one.
You want to just do the replay really quick? Like, it's a short one. I don't mind doing it really quick.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I don't know if Cold War Pace has it actually.
Yeah, I don't think he has it.
Oh yeah, no, I'll host all of it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, afterwards I told Father, like, hey man, I did the wrong fucking thing against BBS. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not how you're supposed to handle it. But I felt bad immediately afterwards because it seemed like I was complaining after a win.
You pulled a little bit of a Jinjin, but it was okay because you were right. Like, it wasn't the proper way to hold it, and I think I was actually like possibly.
Yeah, I had 3 drones left at the end. Like, I couldn't even keep up Ling production.
You had 4 actually. One of them was in.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So yeah, my mindset here. I think it was just after the Tau Cross game. So I was like, okay, whatever, that happens. I don't want to say he got lucky or whatever, because like I said, I made terrible decisions that game. But the fact that the lurkers kind of just scuttled by my army, I was like, okay, whatever. He got his win. All right, I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna BBS him this game. Also, it's Eddie. I don't play this map. I'm just gonna BBS. I don't play this map. I don't know what I'm doing. I just want to win. So that was my entire thought process going into the game. You will soon see that I don't know how to play this map because I think that the middle has buildable terrain.
Yeah, when you said that, I'm like, okay, he's either BBSing and he's just being cocky about it, or he's just trying to make me think he's BBSing. Because that's like obvious sign, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess my SCV timing was good. You want to send it out when you're at 7 supply and your SCV is like halfway done. A little bit before that, that's when you send your first one out, and then you send your second one right when your 8th SCV finishes. So yeah, I get here and I get the bad news that I can't build a barracks. So you see a brief pause where I think, oh shit, I'm gonna lose this game, and now I have to go find buildable terrain. I guess there's some right here. So I'm still kind of searching around and I get my first barracks down. It's only like 20 seconds late, no biggie.
You actually, one thing I think a lot of people notice is that you always do a cheese when you play a series.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
And we watch, like, even in this series, just because everyone knows that, like, Team had to send an early scouting to a lot of the games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, cheese is a super powerful tool in StarCraft. Not only is it, like, super easy to just win the game if they don't scout you immediately, but it, like you said, it keeps that little thought in the back of their mind, like, this guy's willing to do anything. He'll throw down proxy racks in the middle of the map. I have to really be careful about it. So it was just one of, like, the small mental edges that I was able to get that really snowballed into me being able to win this series. So even though I did win this game in the long run, maybe it allowed me to win this series. Who knows? But yeah, I see this Overlord with my SCV, so I know where he is. I can rally my Marines across the map. And he pulls drones. So I don't know exactly if this is the proper response to BBS. This is what you do against 8 racks usually, but with BBS, I already have 3 Marines here. So drones are going to be trading really, not effectively. Against 1 or 2 Marines, drones are great. But
yeah,
where you can't really fight. So look at the workers tab. You're down to 6, 5.
So
turn around and snipe that one. Maybe not.
Yeah, I honestly didn't have very much experience against BBS at all, and I didn't even actually practice it with any of my practice partners. I probably should have, because I would have realized. Someone was like, "You should ask Tai 2 how to defend against BBS. He's really good at it." So I asked Tai 2, and he told me to do this. Which,
okay. Well, then
that doesn't make sense to me, but okay. I probably should have asked her more questions about it, because clearly I don't know how that's supposed to succeed.
Yeah, so
I'm not sure how I can fend off the Marines with drones. I need some kind of like godlike flash micro, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, I still think that this was a fine time for me to GG. Like, we'll go a little bit further, but I end up losing these Marines, and at that point, I do have more workers than him, but it's just like a terrible spot if you have no Marines if not in the ground locals. Like low eco versus low eco. In theory, it might favor Terran, but it's such a hard position to be put into, and you don't know if they're just going to keep building speedlings or if they're going to start droning behind it. And either one you really need to respond to properly. So after I lose these Marines, I feel pretty confident saying that I would have lost this game regardless.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't as much of a lost game as I thought, actually. Yeah. But I think I was still, I don't know.
I think it was playable from there. I maybe could have done something, but yeah, lessons to learn from that. First of all, make sure your buildings come up on time. Be diligent with your map, scouting, and whatnot. Also, I didn't point it out, but there was a second where I took to pause and repair my SCVs after one of the first engagements, and that gave him enough time to pop out another set of lanes. So I think if I just kept pressuring there, I could have traded a lot better. But that just comes with experience.
All right, so we do have one question, and it is how, like, when you're preparing for this match, because we set this up, like, quite a bit in advance. You guys knew this was coming. How much did you prepare for the matchup versus preparing for the opponent specifically? Because you guys do know each other.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Ken?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we know each other, and neither of us were really trying to, like, hide any of the strategies that we were doing. Like, we're all in the same Discords and stuff. But it's also, like, nothing either of us was doing was some insane like cheesy style. Most of it was pretty, like the stuff that I was playing with, like the Hydra Lurker drop is maybe the craziest sort of strategy. Like all the stuff that Father was doing is pretty standard stuff. Even BBS, they're just things that you're going to need to practice against. So I would say it was more of just preparing for the matchup.
Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. I definitely tried to use the fact that we were familiar with each other to my advantage, and just like the fact that I have several builds that I'm willing to do, and that he knows that is basically like enough that's like an advantage already, because like you saw throughout the series, he was really diligent with his scouting. So him being aware of the fact that I'm willing to cheese or willing to play standard kind of gives me an advantage to begin with. But yeah, I don't think I really prepared any like build specifically to like how Keen's playstyle is or anything. I really just played for the matchup for the most part.
I was hoping that I feel like I have kind of a reputation, or maybe I used to have more of a reputation of being just like really cheesy and doing like Ling all-ins or like 9 full speed, or like lurker builds a lot, which, I mean, I did do lurker builds in this series, but I was hoping that would play to my advantage a little bit, even though I think I was even telling Father, like, I really want to go 9 full more games against you, but it just sucks. Like, I just suck with it. I can never get any damage done with it. And sure enough, my game on Clayfield, it just got blocked perfectly. It was actually a really sick block by Father.
Thanks. Yeah, what was I gonna say? I thought I had something else. No.
Okay. We have kind of like a general question for Keen. It's worded a little bit weirdly, so I'm gonna change a little bit. It's from Buliat, and he says, or they say, when you kill the first bunch of Marines, so if you get the first, I'm gonna say like the T-Rex Academy move out, what is your goal, or like what is your mindset after you get that first group of Marines, and how do you punish Terran for?
So if they're going to Raxacad and you manage to kill their Marine force with Lings, well, it depends on how many Lings you're building and how many Lings you have after the fight, right? But I mean, just assuming you have like the Vegas scenario on Earth, like you're going to want to go to their natural with the rest of your Lings, and even if you just have like 4 Lings or something, maybe try to poke in, just make sure they didn't like have a stroke during the fight and just stop production. Just see what you can do. Maybe poke in if their bunker is like poorly placed and see if you can harass SCVs a little bit or just force a reaction from them. But like most likely they'll have continued their Marine medic production during the fight, so there's probably not going to be too much you can do.
Right. So basically, when you get that first group of Marines, you just get map control.
Yeah, you just get map control and get back to the front of their natural. With those Lings, like with Lings in front of their base, like your priorities are usually like trying to get scouting information. If you can do a little bit of harass, that's great, but it's not worth losing Lings over, because you want to have a healthy amount of Lings that are constantly like threatening a little backstab if they try to go out again, just to keep them on their feet or keep them on their toes. Yeah, I think that answers that.
Yeah, from the Terran perspective, just really quick. Yeah, like I said, you have to give up map control, and basically you're not able to move out on the map again until you have about 2 control groups of Marine medic. So as a Zerg player, if you just kind of keep tabs on their army, you'll know about when they're ready to move out, when it's about 2 control groups. That's like a general rule of thumb. Obviously, you can do whatever you want, but if you move out too early, you're liable to just lose the game. So like Keen said, you should definitely go check and just keep constant tabs on what they're doing, but I wouldn't try, like if you kill the first Marine medic ball, I would not recommend just like mashing the Z button and just going all in with speedlings. That's a great way to throw away an advantage.
Yeah, because
take a third.
After the Taraxacad Terran moves out, they're always going to be making 2 firebat to stop like an earlier Zergling run by and backstab. And they'll probably have a bunker, so it's just like there's very little chance for Zerg like bust them of things at that point.
Alright, that makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to, because I forgot to do it in the interview after the series, I wanted to give you guys both kind of a chance to just shout out your practice partners and like any coaches that helped you prepare for the series.
I want to thank all the Koreans on ladder that I ate racks in preparations for this. I actually didn't really practice with practice partners for this that much. I was really going into the series, I was experimenting with 8 racks a lot. And so I was playing a lot of just ladder games, specifically because playing cheese against their practice partner gets really difficult after a couple games. They're able to adapt, and if they know that it's coming, there's just like some psychological edge they have. So I think playing cheese against random ladder players is really important. But yeah, coaches, shout out all the coaches on Passion Daddies. Shouts out to all the players on Passion Daddies. We're killing it this season. Thank you to the guys on IRK. Thanks to Olin. I know I was practicing a lot with him. Shout out to Aggie as well. I think that's about it.
All right, and Keen?
Yeah, I really want to. I don't play ladder that much. I can't grind ladder, and I usually play a fairly small amount of games. So it really helps me to have practice partners that I practice with, just so I can grind the matchup. So I want to give a lot of shout outs to Rogi for helping me practice against 8 racks, even though I failed against it pretty miserably. I did way better in practice. And I also want to thank Intrigue and Rage from Team Liquid for helping me a lot with my 2-hatch Muta and 2-hatch Muta against Mech as well. Yeah, it really meant a lot.
Alright, so I think that brings our analysis portion of this to a close. I don't know if Least is like AFK or if he's going to come back here. But thank you guys both so much for playing the best of 9 and for doing this analysis and all the work you guys are doing on CPL. I know you're both very active coaches and your teams and your players are very lucky to have you. Yeah. So congrats to a close series and congrats, Father, on.
Thank you.
Least, are you here? Okay, I don't think he's here, so I'm just going to take the liberty to finish the stream. If you guys enjoyed the stream today, be sure to come back on Friday because we have another ZBT between IRK's Olin and Relentless. So this is the same Olin that Father just said he was practicing with. So same Zerg player there. And Olin's from Operation Indecision and Relentless is from Sammy Fire. So this is going to be an epic ZBT. Definitely tune in. I believe it's going to be at 2 p.m. EDT, but that match is on the CPL calendar, so you can check it out then. And we do have another Apocalypse Best of 9 also on the Wednesday following that, and it's going to be another special edition match because it's going to be between 2 Tier 2 players from CPL because we haven't really been doing Best of 9s between players that are kind of below the Tier 1, Tier 0 level. And they're going to play the Best of 9, and they've been coached specifically Bojack by Chava, or Keen, who was just on this analysis stream, and Erica's Ashen by Armada. So they're going to go ahead and play the Best of 9, and then we're going to have another analysis stream after that, which is more of a coaching stream. And we're going to have Keen back on here with Armada and Ashen and Bojack, and they're going to take their students through their games. So definitely tune in for those streams. Thank you guys so much for coming today, and thank you for your continued support with the Best of 9 series that we've been doing. And if you're not on CPL Discord, you better get on. All right, guys. See you next time.